All right, good morning. Looks like we pushed all-time highs overnight. What a bullish reaction to that dip yesterday, which we expected. Definitely, like, while it was happening, you know, it made sense. Same kind of patterns I use in the small time frame. We had nice drive push up, looking at it that way. On the daily chart, start to get long over the first candle making a high. You're looking for extension after that because it had, you know, so many candles in a row, more than 5, never breaking lows and always breaking highs. So that first pullback, generally pretty good opportunity to get long for at least one more extension. Now the extension didn't have huge follow through. In fact, it stalled pretty hard. Now that was overnight session. Not sure what happened like 5 hours ago, but we did dip back down in pretty hard. We are opening this morning, currently basically exactly where we closed yesterday. So I am definitely open to either direction. I definitely don't like that it tried to break out and then got rejected so quickly. But it did happen overnight, not in the cash session. So we'll see how the open goes. We're not going to be opening with really anything of a gap, so don't really have a strong gap play. You know, nothing like that. Price action for the last couple hours has been pretty range-ish. Looks like we're trying to hold some bottoms here, push up. We've now tested above like the larger swing point during this time frame, and I mean, you know, obviously there's some selling there, some profit taking. It's not huge yet, but we'll see what the reaction is. I feel like if we could hold this at the open, hold some form of pullback and break back up above this, I feel like it's quite likely, kind of same principle, right? Straight down, get back up above this area, and then could be straight back up to test the undersides of what we lost up here. Not any real levels that I'm looking at in there. We're kind of testing this small area right now. So if this level can hold, I think we have a decent day possible for long continuation. But we'll see what kind of price action we get here at the open. They might want to check underneath this undernight low. Who knows? It's trying to hold though, so opened up pretty much exactly where we closed yesterday. I don't think there's anything on the economic calendar that I'm super concerned about. Nothing happened. We have Fed Waller speaking at 11:45, like an hour and 15 minutes into the session. It's only got 2 stars, not 3, so I'm not super concerned about that. Generally, I only take into account the triple star things as far as news importance goes, so I'm not real stuck on any news like articles that I need to wait for or be ready for. So kind of just price action trading for me this morning. Test of our moving average, see if we can hold above. It wasn't strong enough to hold above from the top of this little range, so see if we can hold the moving average or the lowish side of it. Two strong bear candles for open. Whoops. That's not the worst 2-bar reversal signal. One tick poke trigger above it. Did happen at a decent location. Don't like that amount of bearish pressure, opposite pressure at all after the one tick, because we know that one tick past the candle is the trigger, right? That's gonna initiate the stop market orders above that candle, and it instantly went the other way. So that's it's not a good position to be in. So they just got stopped out. Still trying to push a little lower here. We could come check over under this undernight low. I wouldn't hate that. On the hourly chart, it's kind of a pretty nasty looking top reversal and then a quick fail. Now we got a little push back up, test of the moving average, and you know, who knows, maybe we dwindle back down. We might get some indecision though today too. Okay. It is some kind of raining outside. Wow. So we have a potential reversal happening on this 1 minute chart right now. Pretty good reaction. Bumping our heads against the moving average. So we broke out of this little bit of a range up. We're coming back in to test it to see if we can hold this top of this range. There's a likelihood then we'll continue higher. If we can't hold the top of the range, we'll test the bottom of the range. And obviously the closer we get to the bottom of the range, the less bullish it gets. Lots of action both ways. Not a bad close. Holding the, you know, higher lows on these candles. Testing this flat top again. Are we going to get through? Still getting stuck. There we go. So we held our retest of this area. Now we're trying to come back up into this one. We're kind of stuck between them, I guess, a little bit. That's not the greatest continuation candle so far. Good test. None of these candles made a low, so easy stop outs down here, really. If this tests them and rips the other way. Only one tick so far below that red candle, eh? Yep. That's exactly the follow through you'd want to see so far off of a dip buy like this. But I would have my stop now move to break even for sure, because if this land back down, we'd be going lower. But now it looks like you got a great entry. Still struggling though. Lower tops here so far. This thing's got to get going pretty much like right away, or we're probably gonna go lower than 95.50. It's got to get going. There we go. Is it only gonna quickly check though? It's a one tick poke so far, boys. Not what we want to see for continuation. Could be the opposite play happening here. That is not what you want to see. If you were long from down here, I'd be getting out instantly after it failed that one tick. Retesting this high. It didn't trigger the short under that candle though. Not yet. Right, we did a nice reversal on the hourly, quite a dip, and this is our first pullback right into that moving average. This thing could fail here. I don't know. Locally, I would have like a long thought, but at the same time, this price action, it is struggling, but it is holding. It's just slowly holding. Never triggered that short though. Well, it already dequalified the short without ever actually even triggering, so. Nice, there's a little test above our high a day, right? Yep. So it looks like our 5-minute level held. Off that 5-minute level, you did get, the 2 attempts to long. Hit the stop outs, got the buy up. Long right above. Gave you a nice pullback to retest the entry location and continuation. You could move your stop now up, take some profits. Definitely have taken some profits. One time says GM. Is GM moving? Oh, GM, good morning. Hey, good morning, man. You know what? You're the first chatter I've ever had in the channel, dude. Or dudette. You made my morning. How are you doing this morning? Didn't like that new high a day. Oh, nice. Oh, wow. It really didn't like that high a day. Yeah, I'm pretty new to the whole streaming thing. I've been dabbling with trading now for, about 2 years. Different ways, different products. And I just figured that if I live stream myself, one, it would be a good video journal for me to go off of. And I also really wanted to just have a reason to talk constantly, because I always found that in my writing journals that talking while I was trading by myself always kept me on track. I was like, yeah, what the heck? Maybe I'd find some like-minded individuals that were kind of on the same page. Nice, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Are you a futures trader? Yeah, so same boat as me then. Yeah, exactly. It's a lonely profession. Do you trade in a similar price action model, or do you use a different method? Or does how I read the charts somehow line up with kind of how you read them? Kind of tested the perfect spot there, never actually breaking the swing point, but going to the absolute extreme before the swing. So if you longed the bottom, absolutely have trailed the stop to this swing point. Still looking okay for you, really. The reaction is not bad. Another retest. There's definitely some demand down here. I got you. Yep. I've dabbled with those indicators in the past. That's cool, man. That's awesome that you reached out. I appreciate it. Yep. Yep. I got you. Price kind of coiling here a little bit. We did break high a day, still held the swing point that pushed us, but then we failed to reclaim it, then failed to break the low. We're kind of coiling. Visually, I would suspect this to get broken, at least to test above 74 and a quarter. Sorry, 47, 04 and a quarter. Visually, just where it's at right now doesn't, you know, excite me or make me want to short or anything like that. Even though we're getting some selling pressure from up here, I'd like to see it above that. It's trying to hold these lows, so I'm just kind of chilling. The first 2 weeks was kind of these are the first 2 weeks I'm getting back into this full time, and it was a discipline check for myself again, which I was fairly successful with. Not a whole lot of trading was done. My strategies, I only have 3 that I'm using. They need a little bit of tweaking, and I felt multiple times the same emotion a couple times in these last 2 weeks, but I didn't want to change anything until the 2 weeks was finished. And this weekend I'm going to do a review of these 2 weeks and make 1 or 2 minor tweaks that I could feel happen, and then I'll run it again for another 2 weeks and see if I get a little bit of outcome. I try to keep capital preservation as my main focus, and I was successful in doing so during these 2 weeks. Even after the full week, 2 weeks of trading, there was no events or anything that caused me any type of financial struggle or concern to not be able to trade the next day or whatever. All of the totals at the end, technically, I think I'm red $200 or something like that over the 2 weeks. So that's pretty good, really good for my first 2 weeks back at it. I mean, that's like, you know, 1 win. I could make back the losses for 2 weeks. So that's very minimal. A good spot to be in for me as far as how I look at it. I wasn't expecting to knock it out of the park my first 2 weeks back, and I wasn't going to try. I just wanted to get back into it. So I'm happy. We got a 1 tick probe over this little swing high, but it's not, again, it's not a location that I'm really looking for. Oh, we're gonna make a swing at high a day. Nice, yep. Visually, I figured it would complete and at least check above this little bit of a swing. If it can't continue, then sure, but just didn't make sense to short down here yet. My risk reward for getting into a long position wasn't there, so just chilling. So we got extension again. We can hold. Yeah, I was just about to say, if we can hold now, there's a likelihood for me that, I mean, we probably will retrace this move back up. This, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of levels. My purple line is yesterday's high, I think, in the cash session. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, man. Yep. The the net zero has I'll be honest, I've traded part-time while I've been working full-time for the last year. I say part-time because a lot of it has been either replay trading, or I get a day here and there that we have some off time for whatever reason, because I work construction. Anyways, over the long run, I always end up seeming to come back to break even. I can trade for, doesn't seem to matter the amount of time, and at the end of the session I always end up being relatively close to break even. So I know that's I've achieved the first step, because I mean the first year I was basically losing all the time, so I'm improving slowly. We getting there. Everybody always tells me to respect the process, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying very hard to respect the process. Potentially momentum stepping in here. I've got multiple candles in a row qualifying for a potential one-timing trade here. We're gonna get any kind of slowdown. It's trying. It's right into yesterday's high though. Ooh, that's not what I was looking for a little bit of a slowdown for a momentum trade. Looks like there was some people that were watching that yesterday high level. Coming back in to test the top of what we gained. So I'm canceling the thought of a momentum entry. That reaction was not what I was looking for that at all. We had a little bit of volume growing on that push too. It was had the first couple check boxes, but we tested lower, we found support, we broke our daily high, kind of pulled back, we held, we did push a little bit higher, pushed another leg higher. Market didn't like those prices so far. Didn't get caught at all. We're back to the moving average. It's still kind of struggling. coming back down just the same as it went up. No real pullbacks in between, no slowdown. Just over a minute left in this 5-minute candle. If it closes big and bearish like this, it's definitely not looking so hot. And there is a small range here of accumulation, but I think I'm not as convinced that I'd want to lean on that, or that they're leaning on that. I think it's more relative to yesterday's high point. Actually, I think I might have got that wrong. Cash session high was actually here. Yeah, I'm wrong. So they tested just above it and rejected it quite aggressively. We're almost starting to qualify. I mean, we are qualifying for potentially a momentum trade to the downside instead. I'm potentially a little bit nervous about doing that because we've already basically retraced 3/4 of the move back up. I'm wondering if we're going to enter like range territory and just be kind of stagnant sideways. Kind of range like price action happening leading up to the open. We've kind of tried above it, didn't really like it, not yet. So this is testing the absolute extreme for me. This would have been the next swing point. We pushed a high, we pulled back. We did hold a little part in here, but ultimately it took both to break above this high. So liquidity under here, major swing point there. That's a nasty looking 5-minute candle though. Got our inside candle. Okay, we just tested below the swing point a little bit. Yep. Lines up nicely. So I will say that this chart is trying to reverse for sure. I mean, obviously it looked like it up there, but now it's kind of confirmed it for how I draw my lines. Back in testing the breakout trade here. Were they successful at getting 2 points? Uh, 97 would have been the entry. So yeah, it did give 2 points fill. So we tested under these levels here. Good profit taking spot. 5-minute did get a trigger now underneath that nasty bar. That's a big sell-off bar though. Not interested in risk size that big. One tick above. I like this. Technically on the 5-minute chart we are the the cheapest long entry potentially that I would want to take on the day based off this swing point that held to push a high, but the approach is quite intimidating. I don't like that one tick poke if you were trying to long here. Okay. We're getting a little bit of a correction leg up. We'll see how it goes here. So I did get my inside candle, 5 candle in a row set up for a 2-point scalp, and it did pay before it came back. I was a little bit, I don't like taking it right into the resistance, or it would have been support at this time, sorry. Right into the opposite anyways. But it did pay. That one paid. Technically this one didn't pay. So net negative, 1 loss, 1 win. Decent signal setup. Respected that moving average really well there. There's no momentum trade for me at this level. I'd have to see a 2-leg pullback with a failure, which doesn't you're super likely here. The other trade setup is a reversal / mean reversion, and I mean it is happening at a decent liquid point. If low a day would hold, it's under everything else. It's producing a higher low right now, or trying. But that goes back to the same conversation and thing I've said multiple times in the last 2 weeks is I don't have any kind of higher low set up. But boy, oh boy, have I noticed a lot of higher lows that I wanted to be involved in but couldn't because no setup. For now. Be like waiting and wanting price to just dabble below a little bit and then reverse, and then it never does. It just holds a higher low, which technically, I guess, I mean, thinking about it logically, I guess that would mean that there's more demand, right? It can't even probe a stop out or lower before reversing. There was so much demand that it held a higher low, which should in theory be more bullish, I think. But for consistency, these 2 weeks, we're not dabbling in anything with that yet. So for me here, I need to see a break above 47 and then a failure for 2-leg pullback and then continuation to the downside, or a poke below the low here and then a reverse to the upside. I'm kind of torn, basically sitting on my hands because neither has set up yet. Double top so far. Likely we test above it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's see a nice little 1-tick probe and then a nice bearish fail. Nope, we're not getting it. No trade setup for me. That is quite a... Did we go 2 ticks? We went 3 ticks. 3 ticks higher. It is a 2-leg pullback. It is a nice bearish reaction. Three ticks though. Gonna be a big candle close too. Dang. Triggered the trade. It's too big a risk though, even like smallest position size of 1 contract for me. Too big. Yeah. I will be honest and say that I really, in my head, I dabbled with the idea of limiting in up here because we did get the signal, we did get the trigger before that, but the one factor that I didn't like was that it went 3 ticks instead of 1 or 2. Like 2 is kind of like, okay, I'm still on board. Don't like it as much, but still on board. 3, I mean, I have written down literally to not trade it. So I fought that urge. It may still work, but I'm not, I'm gonna stick to the rules. One tick, golden, 2 is like silver, you know. We're getting to 3 ticks. We're kind of like, well, maybe it's just an actual extension. The more I watch it, the more I think that we may be holding this 5-minute area down here, you know, off of this swing point. Certainly trying. Come back up. Maybe even we get stuck at the top again. We do range out for an hour or two. Maybe we get a move later in the day. So far, we know that price didn't like the extreme low or the extreme high, and it's chilling in the middle of the day, basically. What's our contract count like? I like to use this as a metric here. So for A period, I know a lot of people use market profile and volume profile when they trade this product, so 140,000 A period, so pretty standard, pretty average. So we have extended by 1 tick. Again, 1 tick over, eh? Just one. Now we have a 1 tick poke, and we have a nice bearish reaction. We have a trigger now. If this would have happened on the second push, I would have been in right here, right now. Got cheaper risk here now. It's given a little bit of a pullback. Really cheap risk, actually. Three pushes though, 3 waves. Oh. If this price action happened on the second one, man, I'd love it. But that one piece says it's the third is like, it's not perfect, so is that the discipline part? Is it perfect? No. Okay. Just chill. Yeah, you know it, man. Yep, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, that's true. It is Friday. You are correct. Most of my strategies, I mean all of them, to be honest, are kind of trend oriented. So for a while in my trading, I would slam them into conditions like this, even though I could tell that it wasn't, you know, the condition really wasn't what I was looking for. But it would like kind of tease, like it's doing right here, right? Like I would just throw my short into this trade because it was like, oh, it did the one tick poke, it did the, you know, signal bar, it triggered, blah blah blah. I'd get in and kind of ignore the fact that the market is very clearly, you know, range bound here. Yeah, it did happen after a little bit of a push, and it might still work, but I did notice, like, I did notice after some time, quite a bit of time, and losing that, you know, that context of what's actually happening is key. There was no kind of consistency. You know, if you couldn't identify, should you be trading into the momentum, or, you know, should you be sitting on your hands? Are we actually in momentum? Well, we're clearly not in momentum right now. So I shouldn't be trying to get into like a momentum expected push. I would force my will onto the market instead of really accepting what's happening. And I did notice, I had a couple trades. I think I had one earlier this week and one in last week that I experienced that again, and it was a good reminder. I got into both times, I'm pretty sure, were 2 contract trades, and I ended up getting one out at profit and the other one getting tagged out at break even, ultimately because I expected a much larger push when we weren't in push-like conditions. Could have easily taken both contracts out at the proper location and, you know, maximized my gains that way, rather than expecting all of a sudden, because I'm in the position, that market's gonna, you know, explode in a direction. Not even explode, just push, you know. So good review, good reminder. Testing our low a day swing. I wonder if we'll hold. I have my doubts now that we actually came back down here. Maybe mean reversion. We got a 1-tick poke. Stay range bound, come back up in maybe. Not break the low a day. Candle doesn't look like it's going to close real well. Higher relative volume on that candle. I like to see that on the reversal point. Just really don't care for the approach back to the low. It could stay range bound, but up for a test of the moving average. A little bit of a pop before maybe a flush down to check below low a day. Maybe it holds low a day. This actually gives me a moment to go dispose of some of this coffee real quick. I'll be right back. Still at the moving average. Right back to kind of the middle of the day's price action. So could have applied the mean reversion strategy here. Did give me the 1-tick poke right near the low a day. Could trade back up into volume. Gave me the 2-point exit at 97. My overall thesis, though, I kind of still anticipate a check below the low a day. Al Brooks, is who I have learned a lot of stuff from, his course. And one thing that he mentions quite frequently is that 90% of the time after the first 90 minutes of the session, either the high or the low of the day is in. And with the type of price action that I have seen today so far, and on the larger time frame and stuff, I would kind of read that and anticipate that to be the top rather than the low of the day. It's just how I'm thinking about it anyway. And maybe that stat, it is quite accurate from my experience so far. But I guess it's kind of up to you to decide based on what you've seen in the first 90 minutes, you know, which one it is. Do I want to play a pullback for a long? No. Would I play a short? I'm going to lean on yes, because if it sets up here, just because, you know, how we checked high and it didn't like it, I still think that I'm going to lean towards we're going to at least check. I don't know that we'll go very far below low a day, but just a check below low a day maybe. No, already gone a full point higher, so no short setup. Back to the mean, right back to the middle of volume. So that was a good reversal setup then. Was a good mean reversion setup right there. Could have applied it there for sure. The approach scared me a little bit. But the price action was there at the right location, so. I'd be out of this trade now though. First contract would have came out at 2 points. Second contract would have got trailed after this pullback, and then would have been exited onto extension back into the middle here. We put profile on, they're probably right in the dead middle of volume on the day. Yeah, you are correct. Absolutely. It's a good way to look at it for sure. Especially because I'm only looking to take small chunks of the move, right? So focusing on the now is especially important for that. It's like, you know, your target's probably going to get hit within a couple minutes maximum is kind of the goal here, right? Taking trades off the 1 minute chart. You are absolutely right. And we knew that the day was quite range bound so far. Had good odds of taking a mean reversion setup there. Gonna come back and test above this a little bit here probably now. We've made it this far. Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's a good way to do it. One thing that I have noticed in some of my reviewing, not specifically maybe these last 2 weeks, but my past trading, is I expect too much out of some of my trades. I've noticed in the past that I will take what is a nice setup at the current time based on what's happening, and then I kind of just expect the market to go much further than it's likely to. So I'll often take, it pretty much happens almost every time in my 2 contract trades, I'll take one contract out at the most likely resistance or support that I'm, the opposite direction. So the underside of some price action or a moving average or whatever makes sense at the time that I'm expecting opposite pressure. And then 9 times out of 10, second contract comes back out at break even, which mathematically doesn't really work when it's that low of odds, because technically I'm always risking those 2 contracts to the stop out. So in the long run, my 2 contract trading, the way that I've been doing it, doesn't really equal profitability. I have very, very minimal success with any kind of runner. Anytime that I go back into my history, I have stretches of like consistent profitability and then stretches of not. And if I look at what made those stretches of profitability profitable for me, it's always quick profit taking. What made my actual equity curve hold the drawdown and continue to climb? And it's always, for me, been taking quicker profits. Those stretches of time has always been multiple smaller trades to amount to a big number. Odds get worse the further you retire. Yeah, absolutely, exactly. Yep. These are all things I'm slowly piecing these together. You always hear like, let your runners run, let your runners run. You gotta allow yourself to have runners. And then I am not successful with that at all. So I've kind of taken the 3 strategies that I'm using are something like basic ideas that I've maybe taken from some of the Al Brooks material, and then I've taken my experiences over the last 2 years and kind of added in my own set of rules and my own approach to them, but they're kind of his principles. And I found that like we were just talking about, the quicker profit taking. Those 2 things are kind of my approach and how I feel like I want to approach the market. And I know as a person, I need to be a shorter time frame trader. I don't like holding trades. I don't like having exposure and like trying to let things run. I like to get in and get out. And I don't want to be a heavy trader like amount wise either. I like a few trades a day maximum. In my 2.5 hour session, 0 to 5 is like where I'm at. Any more than that and I have gotten mixed results. I feel like that's a good number for me. There's a few things about my personality that I'm starting to piece together, and I'm just glad that I'm able to actually have some time again to get back at it and put in real time again to try to improve again. My work has gone into like my wintertime slowdown, so I get to take the wintertime and take another swing at trading and learn some more, practice. I used to have unrealistic expectations of, you know, I remember the first time that I had the opportunity with some time to do this, I like had this such emotional hurdle of like, man, I gotta make it as a trader by the time like this slowdown's done, you know, so I can do this as a job. This is what I want. And like it created such a that was a bad idea. It's kind of like one of those things that everybody says don't do that, but you're like, oh, I'm gonna be the different, I'm gonna do it anyway. Yeah, it's just a bad idea. Created all kinds of psychological problems. Couldn't ever really learn. I just had this huge pressure on myself. It was no good. Yeah, the left money on it. That, yep, that's it's a good way to look at it. And I like that approach as well. Looking at it like I left money on the table was kind of part of the reason why I went through a phase of always trying to let everything run, you know? And then looking at the math at the end of that, I was even less profitable than I was when I was taking, you know, quick scalps and stuff like that. Just because I could watch a trade get to 2-to-1 risk to reward and not take profits on it, and watch it come all the way back and turn into a one risk loser. That's a bad feeling. That's a horrible feeling. I had to experience that a lot of times to convince myself to stop doing that. Tested above our major trading range areas of the day, and now we came right back in again. Yeah, I agree. That, I mean, that is I was gonna say that is me, but not so much now. I'm trying to eliminate that, but that I have quite a list. So like behind my trading setup here, I have a lot of things on the wall. Trade setups, my strategies, rules, just things like right in my visuals that I'm trying to, like, you know, stick to and look at multiple times a day. And one of my big general rules, let's see, how far down the list is it? Right here, number 5, taking a really good trade often leads to overconfidence and will quickly cause me to take a second trade rather quickly without first making sure that it matches all criteria because, quote unquote, I can afford the risk. So that kind of goes with what you're saying, right? I'm willing to risk this loss. And yeah, I struggled with that. So I put it on my consistency and emotional capital rule list. Something to think about often and reference. I would catch like a good trade nice and early in the session, and it's funny, I would, like, within minutes just instantly be into another trade, and almost always it would cost me half, 3/4 of the profits I made off that first trade. Yeah, like, notice that happening a lot. Yeah, that's what I have in front of me. I have my 3 setups and the write-ups for them. So it has like a condition, the context, entry, stop, and target like approach for each trade, and I have a picture of them under it as well. And then I have just a bunch. I have a page of consistency and emotional capital rules, and then I have a general rules page. And then I just have some nice little gems of wisdom. The big one that sits in front of me all the time is, if there are problems with the setup, capital letters, bold writing, don't take it. There will be a setup without problems soon enough. That one's a big one for me. Then a couple legs back down, testing the lower of the range. Still ultimately trying to hold that original swing point from the open. Pushed a new high. We have kind of, you know, gone range bound and chopped around quite a bit, but it still never actually broke it. Haven't had a whole lot of setups. There was really nothing for me. This was a decent opening reversal setup off of my 5-minute swing point that was acting currently. Just went a little bit, quite a bit further right here than I expected. So, I mean, probably never would have taken that trade even if I was on the ball, really stalking it. Wasn't a perfect setup. Slowly got all the way to the top. Definitely nothing up here. If anything, I was slowly starting to approach the idea of maybe momentum was stepping in, getting a momentum trade. I just really don't like taking my inside candle break into like a break of a high into liquidity like that. So no trade setup, which was good. Even if I mindlessly did it with not even taking that into context, it would have amounted to my 1 risk loss. Then we had the same setup happen here, which amounted to the 1 risk win. So back to neutral. And then through here, was interested in a short. It never presented correctly. It almost did right here, but it happened on like the 3rd or 4th push up. It didn't happen on the 2nd. I really like it to happen on the 2nd. So, you know, partial setup was problems, no trade. Down here, this was a decent setup, but it was a miss because I was kind of looking at the market slightly different at this point. We knew that we were quite range bound, so a mean reversion trade absolutely makes sense. We did get the 1 tick poke. Signal bar not the best, but did have the setup. But my brain at this point and eyes, like visually, I was on the approach, like really looking at this to make a new low on the day. That's where my eyes were. I was not looking for a mean reversion trade there, even though that was probably, you know, one of the better setups for me that I could have taken on the day. Just wasn't in the right headspace. I was totally looking at it to go down, even to the point where I was watching it on this moving average for a potential two-leg it up to the moving average and then a short for continuation to the downside, looking for that break of low a day. Never got it. And now we're back chilling into the mean again. Good day to fade the extremes back to the moving average. as our volume count. 80,000, 60,000. Fairly standard. Nothing crazy. Kind of one of those days. Coming back up, about to test above this little bit of swing point here. Back up in a low volume area for the day. Do we extend? We got a 1 tick poke so far. Oh, there we go. 2, 3. We're back up into the lower traded area of the day. Kind of retesting the high. Wonder if it gets rejected and slapped back down quickly, back to the middle, or if we actually take a little bit of a closer push towards the high. We're gonna take another stab at it here. Maybe we get a mean reversion trade set up here to take back down. Yeah, they close in 50 minutes, I think, right? Oh, at 12:30. Oh, okay. I always usually stop between 12:30 and 1. It's kind of my cutoff usually. I've noticed that for me, between 1 and 2, it's like that is my largest losing money window statistically, to the point where I have it in my general rules that I no trading after 1300 ever, no matter how good it looks, because it will always look good. And I do give up some setups that happen. There's oddly, even in the last 2 weeks, I actually have noticed a couple setups that happened right during 1 and 2 that ended up getting big momentum step in at that point. But generally over the long term, statistically, that is a bad time for me. So completely eliminated it from my trading, and I try to focus on that first 2 hours, 2.5 hours. For me to take a trade after 12:30, for me, it's got to be like really, really good, and I'm still, on the fence. It's not really a need. There's always opportunities for those in those first couple hours for you to make money and, or lose money. And after that, it's like, just don't need it to go any longer. Try to keep my focus on one specialty time. Try to really maximize my efforts into one thing. Yeah, exactly. I want in and out. I want to be able to get in when the market and out while it's moving. I don't want to be sitting through an hour of accumulation. Try to get 2 points or 3 points out of it. Are we going to poke up here a little bit? Got a 1-tick poke so far. Ooh, that looks all right for a mean reversion potential. You get a bearish close, we might get a nice trade signal here. Ooh, not a bearish close at all, actually. Not a bearish close on the poke candle. If we got a 2-bar reversal off this 1-tick poke with a nice bearish close, I would still use that as a good signal. But we'll see how this candle closes to take this back down to probably the middle, the moving average on the 5-minute chart. If still didn't close that bearish at all. Hanging out there too long. Would have wanted to see it get rejected. Trying. 1-tick poke is holding. Right back to the top. Was close to setting up properly. Hesitated a little bit too long. 2 candles in a row that should have given me my entry didn't. But good discipline. Didn't FOMO in. That would have been a stop out. Wasn't correct. So it only had like 1 out of the 3 pieces that I need. So no real setup. Taking a swing a little bit closer to high of day here. Just above yesterday's high. Currently. Coming up to test. Or they're like, we're testing. The swing low held. So, I mean, jeez. Boy, I couldn't have been more wrong at my bottom read. Do we see a break, a high day? We're all the way back up here after holding that swing point, so I mean, my brain says yes. little bit of a stall here at the high. A little bit larger relative volume in the last little bit here on this candle. No follow through though. Could be a decent buy for a retest. Struggling though to switch my mindset to try to get into a trend following after we've been so range bound. We are kind of channeling up through here. Test of it. Come back up in maybe. We're so close to the high after holding the low, but do we have the strength to get through the high? The trend following part of me says yes, and then the other side of me that knows that we've been range bound today is like, no. Which one do I listen to? It didn't give a top tick rejection, which is a good sign. Thought there wasn't a resting opposite limit orders yet. Yeah, exactly. Gotta be disciplined. Thanks for chatting with me today, man. It's cool. I find it pretty neat that you were here long enough that you heard me mention that the other day, that one of these days someone's gonna type in my chat, and then someone actually did. That's pretty neat to me. Oh, neat, man. That's neat. Awesome. How'd you find me? I'm just curious. Well, we were unsuccessful so far. We ended up doing the first leg failed, so now we've done our 1 2 3 correction. See if we give it one more go here, or if the market accepts that and we start to pull back down in towards the moving average maybe. Oh nice, so it was literally just a search like that. Cool. It's a pretty good reaction off the 2-leg pullback. Could be what we needed to actually come up and test the top now. Hey, thanks, man. Thank you. I think I'm not super familiar with how the YouTube algos work and stuff, but I think likes help show your content to more people. The more likes it gets, the more it tries to, I guess, put it on other people's screens to click on and stuff. I think that's the way it works. Getting some follow through. I like the 2-legged pullback, but I don't like the time of day, and I don't like taking this trend entry against our range bound day. There's too many things that are making me sit on my hands. More interested in mean reversion trades at this point. If I had a perfect one, we have a nice 1-tick poke here. Right near the edge of the day. Closed as a doji. Not the strong rejection we would look for. Decent follow through, actually. Could be some longs trapped at the high here. A limit order on this retest actually looks really nice for me if I can get a fill. Retest of the breakout entry here. Could be some possible nice people trapped and some longs trapped. We got a nice 1-tick poke. We got our follow through. We got the retest of the entry happening here. Let's see if we can get some continuation, a little bit of a pullback. I really like the location for the mean reversion. All the check boxes are hit. We'll see if it squeezes us out for a nice high day break, or if we get a little bit of a mean reversion. I don't want to try to hold past the moving average. Just want to get a little bit of a dip below the test of 275, and we'll be taking profit if we can get it. Testing that 5-minute little swing point right now. I can't move my stop to break even quite yet because I actually haven't had a candle that made a higher high and then continued. I need that to happen before I can adjust my risk. So I'll have to be patient here. I would like to see this come down and go lower than this little bit of a buy up. It could give us our push to the target. Of an inside stall candle. All right, we have a candle that made a high on this push down. So now if we can continue lower, I can adjust risk to this retest. Closed pretty good. Quick pop retest, or are we actually going to hold the swing low? Certainly trying. I would have expected it to get more rejected than this. Off that one tick poke. Started out pretty nice. Didn't seem to get our follow through though. Looks like we're probably going to get stopped out here. Got another 1 tick poke. This is actually giving me an opportunity to get out at a cheaper price now. My trade principle is wrong. It's already been proven wrong. I think it's a great time for me to see if I can get out at a smaller loss. My principle is already broken. Nice, I'll take that half size risk loss instead of accepting the full size one here. I always give myself 2 ticks of risk past the stop out swing that I'm leaning on, just for that situation right there. Exactly, it did allow me to cut the loss at half size. Even if this thing comes back all the way down, I'm okay with what I did. I've had good success. I like doing that. Looks like it would have given me a break-even entry, but that's okay. I'll take the half risk loss. The trade principle for me was, you know, our 1 tick poke was going to push a new swing low. I was proven wrong, so I got an opportunity to get out at half loss. I'm more than happy with that. Yeah. So that was my entry there. I'll fill that in after. Because lots of times, right? I mean, I was proven wrong. The thesis of my trade was wrong. So could just keep going and break the high a day. So it looks pretty good for the start of it. My general plan for this trade is for the mean reversion reversal. I got the, you know, signal trigger set up, everything I look for, and the location was good. And then I look for a 2-leg push, and then I trail a stop behind the first leg. Ideally, the first leg will break that little swing point, which it teased. It looked like it was going to, but not quite. And then usually you'll get a little bit of a pullback and then the continuation. And then I trail my stop to the first swing that it creates. And then often that puts me at break even plus 1 or 2 ticks or something like that. It seems to like to come test my entry location and then ultimately have your target down at a 5-minute chart location. So I was going to use the moving average as my exit, but yeah, it's just not the way she went down. But good management. So all in all, I think it's a good time to do my review. And I will say that I wasn't prepared for this reversal here. Turn off the music for my review. There we go. So yeah, when we opened up this morning, I definitely had a long bias from here going into the open, and the swing point did hold. As we approached that swing point, I enjoyed I like the looks of that 2-bar reversal here. It gave a 1 tick above and then some selling, so I knew that it probably was trapping, so I waited. And I would have probably gotten long if this wouldn't have dipped as many ticks as it did below the previous one. But because it did that, I wasn't really ready for that. So no trade setup. And then there was no trade signal for me until we got to the high, which there was the context was there. We had the momentum start, but the location was incorrect. I didn't like that it had already broken kind of above these swing points into the liquidity pool. Generally, I don't like to do that. So again, that's a rule break on that type of setup. No trade signal there for me. Waiting, we get another, literally the same trade signal actually here to the downside. This one did work for my 2-point scalp. However, didn't take it because I had the long bias, and I don't remember what else I was going through my head at the time. I think I just kind of wasn't quick enough. It happened, and I just not sure that I adjusted my mindset to be stalking that trade at that point quite yet. So that was a miss. Ideally, that was a miss. That probably there's no probably that should have been a trade. So one miss there for my 2-point scalp. No trade signal through here. We got really close looking for that 2-leg pullback to the moving average to get a short for the retest to low a day. It ended up doing 3 legs instead of 2. Literally, I have wrote down that I'm not interested in the third one. In the past, it's got to be 2. If it does 3, I lose confidence. So no trade signal through here. Down here, this is another miss, 100%. I was acknowledging that we were range bound and that the extremes were kind of fading back in, but I was passing around the idea that at this point, you know, we had made another high, chart had came all the way back to retest near these lows. I was really looking at potential break of low a day at that point. So that was what was in my mind. So when this reversal trade fired, you know, we got our 1-tick poke below this little attempt to buy, and then we got, you know, the green close, we got the trigger, was a good trade setup. My mind was not in the right spot, kind of similar to this one, right? We switched very quickly from I was looking for longs only to, oh shit, I should be looking for a short actually, and just not quite adjusting properly, because again, through here, right, we were looking for shorts. It approached the target from the shorts. I didn't flip quick enough. In my mind, I was still, like I said, I was looking for that low a day test potential, so didn't get in. But realistically, that was a miss because there was no actual condition that said we were going to break the low a day other than, well, we came back to it. You know, the top did get rejected, but what's to say now that the bottom doesn't get rejected, we come right back up to the middle? Because at this point, technically, we were long bias from this swing point. So, I mean, it did hold. So this was a miss, and this was a miss. These I will not count as misses because they had rule breaks. And then no other trade signal through here, nothing through here. We actually got a final, the next trade signal happened right here, which was the trade that we just took, and didn't get the follow through we were looking for. Started and teased a little bit, and then didn't end up giving me what I looked for. So it's funny, we've kind of like, we're ascending, you know, wedging right now. Price is coiling slightly up. I mean, looking at this, I would expect at least a poke above high a day. I think we've tested to the tick now, haven't we? No, we actually haven't tested high a day to the tick quite yet. But anyways, looks like we were going to try for sure. So when I took this setup, we got everything we looked for. We got to the edge of the range and got the 1-tick extension. We didn't get a super bearish close, but then we got a really nice follow through candle. So it looked really good, had nice presentation. We limit ordered the retest of the entry, worked out good for, it actually did give me 2 points, but for this trade setup, I don't look for a 2-point scalp. Like I said, I look for that 2-legged move. Didn't get an opportunity to eliminate my risk or minimize it either. Never got a pullback to trail to. So good management there. Price made a high. We broke up over the high. So technically my trade thesis now is incorrect. So when the market came back down in for a split second and did give me a cheaper exit, I took it. And as far as my trade strategies go, that is great management. Yes, it did come down and give me a little bit of an even cheaper exit, but I didn't know what was going to happen here. All I know is that my trade thesis was wrong, and my 2 tick above my swing point risk allowed me to not take the full size stop out. It allowed me to eliminate half of the risk. So I'm very happy that I pulled the trigger on that half size exit, because again, in the past, I probably wouldn't have, and I would still be sitting here in this trade and hoping, which is a horrible feeling. And I'm really happy that I actually did that. So good day. Not a lot of action for me. Was a really good reminder again of to trade what's happening and what's going on right now. Because if I was able to adjust and, quickly adapt, we did have a couple trade signals and could have been a good profitable trade session. Even though it was a choppy range bound day, we did have an understanding and could have capitalized. But all in all, we didn't get cut up a bunch. Didn't take a whole bunch of losing trades that were oversized, or I stuck to the plan. I did what I was supposed to. Just a couple misses again. These are what we got to try to clean up going into next week, is really focus hard on the context and then be stalking that right setup. Just be able to flip quickly. But yeah, not a bad day. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your trading session if you continue to trade. And I will be back first thing, same time, Monday morning. Have a good weekend. One time, thanks again, man, for chatting me up today. Really appreciate it. And yeah, see you guys Monday morning.